there, this is Daniel from Three River Farmers Alliance. I'm here with Caitlin Kenney from Nourishing the North Shore. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. Well, tell me all about your organization and what your role is there.
All right. So Nourishing the North Shore was started back in 2015 in the Newburyport area. And we've remained a small sort of grassroots nonprofit. And our mission, our most simple mission, is food, healthy, local produce on every person's plate. And kind of the greater mission is that we want to ensure equal access to healthy local food to all members of the North Shore in a manner that builds community, fosters connection, promotes dignity and self-reliance.
Well, that sounds great.
Yeah, it is. And you asked about my role, right?
Yeah.
I'm the executive director.
Awesome.
So,
well, I mean, it sounds like you got your mission statement really pretty clearly there. I usually ask people about how to describe their mission statement. One of my favorite questions to ask people, though, is how did you get here? How did you find yourself in this role?
So I was a farmer for 10 years, probably over 10 years, for my mid 20s when I left UMass to Amherst back in the early 2000s. And I ended up moving back home to Ipswich. So I came back to the North Shore where I was from. And I started a farm on my family's land, and I was there for almost a decade, and I absolutely loved it. But it became something that just didn't feel sustainable for me for a number of reasons. And so I went back to school at Antioch to get my master's in Keene, New Hampshire. And I thought I was going to go back to environmental science, which was sort of my early passion in life. And then when I was there, it was like every project that came up, every discussion that we had, I just kept circling back to food and land and how I just felt so strongly that it was the most important resource that a community had. And it was what I really knew and loved. And I decided that I really didn't want to leave the field and wanted to stay in food systems work. So during my time that I was getting my master's, I joined the board of Nourishing the North Shore. And I served on the board for about a year and became familiar with the organization through that way. And then a position opened up a little over a year ago, and I decided to take it and be able to work on it full time.
That's great. So this is not an accident at all. It sounds like you really were purposeful.
Yeah, it was not a place I thought I would find myself, because my families, there's a lot of entrepreneurship, and I was self-employed for a long time with the farm. And so nonprofits can feel very different than that. So I didn't expect to find myself here, but it really fits into what I believe. And the work is so satisfying, and I still get to work with farmers, and I also get to do the important work of increasing the access to the local produce.
That's great. I mean, rarely in doing this series have I talked to someone who didn't totally love what they were doing. I think there's something to be said for really believing in what you do. And yeah, it is a rewarding experience. And it's a great charity, of course, as well. What is your all-time favorite experience with your organization, or any particular memory that stands out?
That's a tough one. Geez, I was thinking about that question when you sent it to me, and it's so hard to place. One of the things that we do is we do a seedling sale every spring. And this year I'm really excited that we are going to change the format a little bit and make it a seedling sale that's a pay what you can. And so hopefully, because seedlings can be quite expensive, and if you go to nurseries, it may feel like there's a barrier to getting all the plants that you want. But I just love growing plants, and I love, taking these tiny seeds, putting them into the ground, and, 4 months later, you've got this beautiful tomato plant that's just producing all these gorgeous tomatoes that you can eat in so many different ways, and you can preserve and do all the things. So I think one of my favorite things was having the seedling sale last year and just being in that greenhouse, and you're just full of thousands of plants, knowing that those are all going to go to somebody's home and feed families, in the height of the summer. And it's just obviously food brings me so much joy. So being able to spread that is really satisfying.
Right. Yeah, that's exciting. I can
Mm-hmm.
imagine kind of seeing that whole process from the little plants.
Yeah,
Well,
they're like this big, and then they're like
right.
growing over people's fences.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great of you to provide that. Um, well, how does a Three River Farmers Alliance contribute to what you do, or how do we work together?
Yeah, so one of our flagship programs is a program called Veg Out, and that's where we partner with farms and food access agencies like soup kitchens and pantries and free grocery programs to provide donated produce to the pantries, and so that folks have access to really fresh produce when they're making their orders. And so Three River, I think you all donated close to 9,000 pounds last year, which is really fantastic.
That's a lot of food.
It's a lot of food. Yep. And it was, we're just so appreciative. We work with a lot of farms, and a lot of these donations are kind of overflow, like with farmers, they tend to plant more than they'll actually be able to sell, just to adjust for like weather issues or pest issues. You kind of want to say like plant 20% more. And I think similar with your model, although I'm sure everyone's always trying to keep margins as close as possible, but there's always some extra things that aren't sold for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And those come to us, and they are able to be used, which is really fantastic. And I also think the work that, part of what our organization focuses on is supporting small farmers. And I think with Three River, that's exactly what you're doing, allowing farmers to sort of control their own distribution, which is just a great benefit to have in a community like this.
That's a big goal for us, is we want to help the farmers reach a larger market, and it's really important to us to have a positive impact on the food system. I mean, we believe just like you do that this local food should be for everyone. I mean, it sometimes is marketed as a specialty item, and certain items are special, but in general, we really want to increase that access to everyone. So
Yeah.
that's
It's a real tightrope because, in our work, we really acknowledge that local food can feel really expensive,
yeah.
and that it's a barrier to a lot of people, but also that farms and farmers need to make a living, and farmers generally are in the same category of low income because, they're not making enough money. So being able to distribute and sort of control your pricing the way that farmers can through Three Rivers, that's a huge benefit to them, and hopefully can, it just helps everybody. It helps everybody.
Yeah. That's a big focus.
Economy.
A big focus for us. Yeah, everyone kind of rising together.
Exactly.
Well, what are your goals for the future? Is there anything in particular that you're focused on?
Yeah, we are. Goals for the future. We've gone through some changes over the past year. We had created a really great community garden that we sadly had to leave in the fall, and we were doing some of our own growing in the past. And so this year, we won't be doing that, but we're hoping that what that's going to allow us to do is expand our reach within like our Veg Out program, so that we can spend more time working with our farm partners as opposed to doing our own growing. And so that'll allow us to actually bring more food in more efficiently and then redistribute it. And we're also doing more work around advocacy and promoting policies like the HIP program, which is here in Massachusetts, that allows SNAP users to be reimbursed when they buy local produce. And getting the word out about those programs and just how important they are for people to be aware of and also vote for when,
Right.
those state elections are coming up, and a lot of us participate in the really big, presidential elections and whatnot, but also it's so important to be sort of aware of, involved in all the smaller elections and knowing like what your Congress is passing, because it really affects us all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really
Yeah.
important. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for all the work that you do, and all the work that Nourishing the North Shore does. We really appreciate it, and we're happy to be able to work together so much.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a great partnership. We really appreciate everything that you all do as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.